Hello, hi everyone. Today we will continue to explain a question from the RHCE question bank. Now let's move on to the third question. The third question is about software installation, which actually connects to the content of our previous second question because the second question was about software. A basic configuration was done for the repository, right? Of course, although what we wrote in the software repository looks like website URLs. In fact, these URLs are all local host names. It's not actually connected to the internet. They're all local host names. Here we can see that the requirements for this question are actually very simple, which is to install something, install software, install a software group, and also update other software to the latest version. But generally, this doesn't have a significant impact. Usually for this question, the main tasks are to install two pieces of software and a software group. As for the third part, actually, in most cases, actually, there usually isn't much that needs to be updated, so this part won't take too much time either. So here, let's do a simple configuration. First of all, in this content, the main thing we'll be using is actually just one type of module. Really, we'll only be using one module, which is, so we're going to use an installation module. With this module, but here we actually need to divide the tasks into three. The requirement here is for 3, and our tasks are also divided into 3 because each of these 3 has a different function. It's not about installing 3 different pieces of software. If they were all software, then, right? If it had listed 3 pieces of software here, then actually what could we do? We could reduce the tasks to just 1. In that case, we could use a single module and simply list the names of the software packages. But in this case, if we look at the question, there are 3 different types. The first one is a standard software installation. The second type is installing a software group. A software group isn't a single piece of software. It's actually a collection of many different software packages. The third one is updating software. So since there are 3 different operations, we can just divide them into 3 separate tasks. Next, let's take a look at the specific configuration method. First of all, what do we still need to create? That's right, our YML file. It's actually mentioned here, right? The name of the YML file is also given in the question, so make sure not to get it wrong. Yes, make absolutely sure you don't write the wrong name. All right, so next, let's take a look at how to approach this question ourselves. To answer this, first let's remotely connect to our corresponding server for this topic.
Let's pause for a short announcement. Friends, if you're currently preparing for this ITification exam, or if you've been studying for a while but don't feel your preparation is very efficient, this is something you shouldn't miss. Our team has been focused on its certification dumps for 16 years, doing one thing consistently, organizing the most up-to-date, most exam accurate, and easiest to use dumps to help candidates pass their exams more efficiently. Our dumps closely follow official exam updates. They are stable, highly accurate, and well aligned with real exam questions, allowing you to prepare with more confidence while spending less time. If you'd like to get the dumps for this exam and pass the certification faster, you can contact us directly via WhatsApp or YouTube private messages. We're happy to explain the latest update dates, dump stability, exam policies in different countries, as well as any current purchase discounts. Everything is clear and transparent before you decide. We also place great importance on payment security and privacy protection. The entire purchasing process is simple and secure, with no unnecessary data collection. Your personal information and privacy are fully protected. In addition, we provide 24/7 consultation and after-sales support. Whether you're just getting started or running into issues right before the exam, our support team will patiently and professionally help you analyze and solve problems. You're never preparing alone. Beyond this specific exam, our dumps cover almost all major IT certification tracks. If you plan to pursue other IT certifications in the future, feel free to reach out anytime. We'll give recommendations based on your goals.
All right, after connecting remotely to the corresponding server, we can start the specific operations. First, we just need to edit our file because even though the question gives a rather long file name, in reality, we're always working with this one. We're operating in the home directory of our regular user, so actually you don't need to write out the full path in front. Generally, we're always working in this directory, so when editing for each question, you just need to write the file name. Of course, what do you need to pay special attention to here? You must make sure your path is correct. You must ensure that you're in the correct directory. If you're not, and you try to edit a file like this directly, all your effort will be wasted. Because if your path is incorrect, when your answer is being checked, your file can't be found, and that means a 0. That means 0 points. So everyone, you really need to pay attention to this. Now, after entering this file, let's take a look at the specific steps for the operation. First of all, our first task actually consists of 3 parts. There are 3 tasks, but there's also a small detail in the question that everyone should pay attention to, which is that there are requirements for the host. For the second question, since we need to configure our software sources for all the machines, it's basically like, right? We can just write all. But for the following questions, everyone needs to pay attention to what? Pay attention to the host group, as it might be different for each question. That's the key point. First of all, the first one. For example, let's take this question as an example. For our first question, the requirement is for us to install PHP, right? And a database. Here, we can see that, first of all, as for the name part, you can just set it as you like. The name field doesn't really have much impact, so you can call it whatever you want. It's just that, ideally, for each task or each playbook, this just make sure the names aren't duplicated so it's easier for you to find them. Then next, let's take a look at this. First, it requires us to install two pieces of software, right? Where do we install them? On 3 host groups. One is test, another is pro. So we need to install these 2 pieces of software on 3 host groups. As for the specific tasks, what can we write here? We can just write the installation tasks directly, right? For example, installing software, right? This basically counts as installing software. Then next, we can start writing the specific installation details. As for the specific installation details here, there are actually only 2 software packages in total. For the 2 software packages, we just need to write the names of the packages here. And here, of course, in terms of quantity, actually, it doesn't matter how many there are. You can have as many as you want, because the way we're writing this, what does it mean? When you normally, if you write it in the usual way, actually, you can write 5 or 10 here. It's all fine. Yeah, so by using this kind of variable format, you can actually write multiple items. It's basically the value of the variable, writing multiple values for the variable. Here it's actually similar to a loop. The loop helps us install these software packages listed below. So this is the first task, which only installs these 2 software packages. The second task installs a software package group. Note, it's a group. Here, everyone should pay attention to the way the group is written, and the way to write software is a bit different. There is a slight difference. So here, we need to pay attention. What do we start writing here? Cache, the second task. Let's write the second task. For the second task, for example, we can just call it install 2. Alright, next we can start writing the host. Note that the second requirement is to have us do this in the dev group. Within the group, we need to install what we call the software package group. So here, what do we need? We need to do it here. Some specific tasks. This time we're not installing software, right? We're installing a group, right? So let's write install group. Then in Ansible, we start writing the specific installation content. As for the installation content here, the name of our module is the same. The module is always yum for installation. The module is always yum for installing. So what about the installation content below? It's a bit different. Last time it was several software packages, right? We could use variables to define them uniformly. Then we could explain the variables or just specify the actual value of the variable. What about software package groups? They are written like this. When you write it like this, remember to add this symbol in front, add this special symbol. So it's like adding a special symbol in front of the name here. Pay attention to that. Alright, that's our software package group. The last one is related to updates. As for the way to write updates, it's a bit different. Actually, it's just that the specific options in this module are a bit different. The options are a bit different. There's nothing else that's different, right? Of course, this actually isn't an installation, right? This should be called an update. This time we're updating. And here, everyone should pay attention to one thing. Actually, we don't need to write a new task for this. Actually, you can just continue writing according to the previous section, just keep going like that. Why? Because the reason we separated install 1 and install 2 into 2 tasks is that our host groups are different. But the host groups for the second and third tasks are the same, meaning the hosts here are the same, right? Since this part is the same, what can we do? We can just put the same parts into one task. Then we can break it down into more detailed tasks below, right? Just break it down into detailed tasks here. For example, let's write one here, because this is an update, right? It's an update. So I'll just write update. We don't need to be so strict here. The name doesn't have to be too formal. Just write it normally. As long as you can understand it yourself, that's enough. This is really just a simple label or identifier for us to use. Next, we need to specify the exact name. Since it requires all software packages, right? So we can just write all using our wildcard. Just use the wildcard to indicate all. Finally, since we want to update to the latest version, just write latest version. Alright, after we finish writing, there's no need to check here, just execute it directly. If there's an error, we'll take a look. If not, it means you did it correctly. The main thing to check here is actually the name of your software package. Right? The name of the software package. The name of the package group, mainly just these two simple things. As for the last asterisk, generally you wouldn't get that wrong, right? So here, finally, let's go ahead and execute this. Let's look at the script and see what the final result looks like, okay? Let's run it and see if there are any syntax errors. Actually, if there's no response here for a while, it usually means there are no syntax errors and it's executing. During execution, check if there are any red messages. If there aren't, then everything is normal. If everything is green and yellow, then there's no problem. Green and yellow mean there are no issues. Green often indicates it's searching for your, for example, host group, right? Once it finds the host group and starts executing tasks, it can turn yellow. Right, a lot of the green messages are just about searching or looking up things. Then the yellow ones are usually for items that haven't been objectified. Items with no changes are green, right? If the installation is successful, it's usually yellow. So here, everything has been updated, right? Once the updates are done, next. As for verification, actually here, you only need to verify two things here. Just check two things. First, among our first 3 host groups, have our 2 pieces of software been installed successfully? How do you verify this? By adding the names of our 3 host groups at the end, and then using the RPM command to check whether the installation was successful. If it's successful, it will return the software version, right? You see here version 8.0, version 10.0, it's all the same, so there's no problem, right? That means it's installed. Then the second thing is our software package group. Here, pay attention. The command is not the usual query command, because this isn't a regular software package. It belongs to a group of software packages, so we use the group list command to check. If you can see this here, just take a look, just look for it. What's ours called? It starts with RPM, right? Alright, it's here, right? It's here, right? No problem, it's installed. And the last one is updating. For updating, you just need to use this command. Just use yum update. If, when updating, it shows nothing to do, then what does that mean? It means that everything is already up to date. Alright, that's basically it for this part. The content of the third question mainly covers 3 different types of software. It's about different methods of software installation. Regular software packages, software package groups, and updates. These 3 aspects. So there are 3 small tasks. After completing all of them, the verification is actually just to check whether these 3 steps were done correctly. If the results are fine, then this question is finished. Finally, I actually recommend that after you finish each time, after you've run the playbook, you should check your current path to make sure it's correct. Right? And also check whether you have these files in your current path. For example, this is our first question, right? The yum file is for our first question, not the file for the second question. And then this package file is for our third question. So you should make it a habit to check frequently. Just take a look from time to time, right? Check whether all the files you need are here, whether you have enough files. Don't let yourself miss a file for a certain question. Not that you can't find it, but that it's simply missing from this path and is in another directory. This can lead to problems, right? If that happens, you won't get any points for that question. That's one of the issues we need to be aware of. For the third question, you must make sure the path is written correctly, specifically the script path. As long as you put the script in the right path, it will be fine. Alright, that covers the content of our third question. Finally, for verification, as long as the software is properly installed, everything should work. Wow, so that's the main content for today. If anyone is interested in more questions from this question bank, feel free to discuss in the comments section below. And then this... Overall, if you have any questions or issues, you can discuss them below as well. Alright, that's it for today. Goodbye, everyone.